Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these scones with whipped cream and jam. You will need 1.5 cups of self-raising flour, 40 grams of butter, 3/4 of a cup of milk, 125 ml of cream and 1/4 cup of jam. Make sure you preheat your oven to 200 degrees Celsius and line your baking tray with baking paper before you get started. Okay, so now you're going to sift 1.5 cups of self-raising flour into a large bowl. Make sure it's self-raising because you definitely need the raising agent in it to help your scones to rise. Next, take 40 grams of butter and just chop it up into little cubes and dump that into your flour. Now we're just going to be using the rubbing in method. Just using your fingertips, you're going to be pressing the butter between your fingers. You'll need to do that for a couple of minutes, and the final texture should look a little bit crumbly like breadcrumbs, and the mixture should also have yellowed. Dust off your hands, and then we're just going to make a well in the center of the mixture and add in most of the milk. Don't add all of it, leave a little bit in the bottom of the jug to add later if needed. And then you're just going to mix the whole thing together. I'm using a butter knife because that will help us to keep the texture light. And you just want to keep mixing it and getting all of the liquid incorporated. Don't add milk until you're 100% sure that the other milk's been mixed in. Mine is a little bit dry, so I'm adding a bit more of the milk but still leaving some behind. And you want to mix it until it starts to form a ball and clump together. You can see there it's starting to clump now. So now that it's formed this soft dough, you're just going to flour lightly a surface and put some flour on your fingers and dump it out onto the bench. Now we're just going to really gently knead it. So we're just turning it over, pressing it, and just trying to get it all into a smooth piece of dough. We don't want to do it too much though. If we overwork this, it can become tough and really unpleasant and not soft and fluffy. When your dough is coming together, you're just going to pat it into a round shape that is roughly 2 centimeters tall. I actually used a ruler to check and measure that it was about 2 centimeters. Then using a 5 centimeter round cutter, you're just going to cut out your shapes and put them onto your baking tray. Try and cut them as close to each other as possible as you can. You want to get the most as you can out of this first cut, because once you squish the dough back together again, it's not going to rise up as nicely. So you want to minimize the amount of times you have to squish your dough back together again to get some more cuts. Make sure you leave a gap between your scones when you're putting them on the tray as well, so they don't stick together. Okay, before they go in the oven, just using a pastry brush, I'm using my leftover milk to brush the tops. Then you just need to bake them in the preheated oven for 10 to 15 minutes or until they're golden brown on the top. Now to whip the cream, you could use a whisk. You could use your stand mixer, but today I'm going to be using a handheld mixer. When whipping cream, it's really important that you don't overwhip. Overwhipped cream has a very grainy texture and actually has started to separate into its buttermilk and butter. So you definitely don't want that to happen. As you're going, check it. You can see this is a little bit runny still, so I'm going to keep whipping it. And just really watch. As soon as you get these sort of peaks where it stands up by itself, that's what you want. You can use any jam. I'm using a homemade plum jam that I made a while back, and I'll add a link in the description for a jam recipe as well. You'll need to wait till your scones are cool before serving, otherwise your cream will melt. And when you're ready, just serve them up with the jam and the cream. Using your thumbs, break open the scones. You can see the lovely texture there. Just add your jam first, plop on some cream as well, and basically these are ready to go. I hope you enjoy making this delicious British treat.